What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing a challenge from frontendmentor.io, and the challenge we're going to be tackling today is this blog preview card. So this is the desktop design here, and it's really simple. This is just basically like a preview of like a blog post that you would see on like a normal blog, maybe like a WordPress blog or Drupal or whatever, any of those content management sites. You would see like maybe this is like one example, but it would be, you'd have like the blog page of a website, and then you'd have like all your blog posts maybe like stacked going across or vertically, and this would be like an example of what one of the blog posts would look like. So it's just got like a featured image here. It's got the category that it is, when it was published, the title, and like a few, like a little intro of like what the blog is about, or maybe it's the first paragraph, like a little preview, and then who wrote the blog post. So really simple. I like this design though, even though it's really simple to make. This is a great project for beginners. It's like super simple, but it looks really nice. Like the box shadowing here. I've never really seen it used like that to make it look so 3D, but I really like that. Yeah, this is a really cool challenge. So this is the desktop version. And then on mobile, it pretty much just looks the same. We're just going to be using some media queries and making the width of the overall box fit the screen size of like a mobile phone. So not going to be much there. Really beginner friendly challenge, but it's, like I said, it's a really good looking design. If you're doing this for like a job, in like a more practical sense, you wouldn't really just be building out like one little post. You would probably be using HTML and CSS to make this. Let's say you're building like a WordPress theme and you wanted all of your blog post previews to look like this or in this style. You would write that code, and then you would put it in your theme, and then all of the blog posts that you post in that theme would have the featured image, whatever you decide to make it for that post, and then it would just be formatted like this. That would be like the practical use case for this, but yeah, it's really cool anyway. So let's go ahead and get started. I already have it downloaded on my system, but you can click View Challenge Hub and then download the starter kit. And then if you are a paid member on frontendmentor.io, you can download the design files, the actual design software file, if you want to use Figma or Sketch. I have Figma already downloaded, and I'll be referencing that, the Figma file, to give you guys like the font sizes and colors and stuff like that. Or you can use Sketch if you want. So I've already got everything downloaded, like I said. I'll leave this open so we can reference this while we build. And then let's just make this smaller. And then I also have I have Visual Studio Code already open. This is the text editor I'm going to be using for this tutorial. So if you don't know anything about Visual Studio Code, I think I have a video on it, or you can just research it, but you'll need a text editor to do this with me, and I recommend this one. It's free, Visual Studio Code. It's from Microsoft. It's 100% free, and it's a great tool. So I already have the file downloaded. It's a zip file, the blog preview card main zip file. So I'm going to unzip it on my other screen and bring it over here. And I'm just going to rename mine. I'll just call it blog preview card. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag this over into Visual Studio Code to open it. And then we can just take a look at the files that we have together from the starter kit. We've got assets. So this assets folder contains the font that we're going to be using. This is a Google font. It's called Figtree. And you can load the fonts from this folder on your website, or you can just go to Google Fonts on the internet and just get the code and paste it in there. I think we're going to be doing that for this challenge. That's just how I usually do it, so I'll just probably do that. I probably don't even need this. I'm going to get rid of this fonts folder. If you want to, you can add the fonts via a folder if you want. It's just a little different process. If you want to look that up and do it that way, pause the video and go do that. There's no problem with that. We don't need, so in the assets, then we have our images. So we have the illustration article. That's going to be like the featured image. So that SVG is going to be this image here. It's just an SVG format, okay? And then the other one we have is, I think it's the avatar for the author, which is, yeah, image avatar. So just the guy's just a small little avatar image. We'll get rid of this favicon. This is just like the front end mentor logo. I don't want that as my favicon. I don't really want it on the website. So you get rid of that. Moving down, we have the design folder. So it'll show you the active states, which means like what stuff looks like if you hover over it, the desktop design, and the mobile design, which are both pretty much the same. You can keep that if you need to reference those. I'm going to get rid of it in my project. I don't need them. I'm going to get rid of get ignore. We've got index.html. I like to just make my own, so I'm going to delete all this and start fresh. I'll keep index.html file, but I'm going to hit shift and exclamation point and tab. That's the shortcut on VS Code to make my HTML boilerplate code. So there it is. And then we'll just name the title of our page blog preview. Whoops, I don't want it to be in all caps. Say blog preview component. Save. So I'm going to save by hitting Command S on my Mac keyboard. I'm using a Mac. I think it's CTRL-S if you're using PC, or you can just come up here and save. When you have this dot here, it means you got to save your changes. So just so you know that, in case you don't use text, if you're like a complete beginner, that'll kind of help you out. So we got our HTML document, our index.html set now. I'm going to get rid of this README template because it's a bunch of stuff we don't need. I'm going to get rid of this readme.md. It just basically tells you can build this with whatever tools you like and blah, blah, blah. There's the style guide here. So it gives you the colors that you can use. Font sizes for paragraphs and the font families and all this are there. I'm already going to have all that in Figma, so I'm going to get rid of that. Keep it if you need it or if you want to keep it. So all I have left is my assets and my index.html. We're going to make a style sheet, so we'll make our CSS sheet. So I'm just going to click on this new file button here, and I'm going to name a new file style.css. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to link my CSS to my HTML underneath the last meta tag in the head. I'm going to go down, I'm going to type link, hit tab, and that'll give me the code that I need, code completion that I need. So we have the link tag. We already know it's going to be a style sheet in the rel, and we're just going to start typing style. There we go. And I'm going to hit enter, and now my style.css should be linked up with my HTML. And we can test that. Let's make this a little smaller. And I'm going to test that everything's connected and working by loading up a web page for the page that we're building. And I'm going to do that by hitting this go live button in the bottom right hand corner. It'll open up a server for us in Google Chrome, and it'll be previewing the web page that we're building and updating in real time every time we save. If you don't have that extension, you can feel free to go click on the extensions tab over here in VS Code, type in live. Live server will come up, and then you just click install here, and you'll get that button too, okay? So let's go ahead and go live. There we go. So we have our blog preview component, and if I was to make an H1 that says, we'll say test, and I'll save, and there's our text there. And then we can make sure our style sheet is connected. We can say H1 color red. There we go. So it turned red, so we know that's connected. So that's good to go. I'm going to get rid of this test code. And the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything else in my CSS is I'm going to do what's called a CSS reset. So every browser has default margins and paddings and spacings built in when you're building a page. So we don't want that. We want everything to be 100% controlled by us. So if you don't know what a CSS reset is, I have a video on that, or you can just Google it if you want more in-depth information, but that's all I'm really going to get into in this video. So I'm going to do asterisk to select everything on the page. I'm going to say margin 0, padding 0, box sizing border box. And now if I make that same H1 that I had and say test, it's instead of being down here, now it's up in the corner because all the default margin and padding and spacings are gone, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the font, which is the Fig Tree font. So let's grab that. Again, I'm going to just load it up through Google Fonts. If you want to load it up through those folders, you're more than welcome to. So I'm going to go to Google Fonts. And I'm going to search for the font. It is called Fig Tree. So I'll say Fig. And there's Fig Tree right there. And then we're going to need, according to the Figma file, so we need the 500 and the 800 font for the design. So let's go scroll down. The font weight is here, so we need medium 500. And we need extra bold 800, which is right here. I'm going to copy this code. And we're going to paste this in our HTML over our CSS style sheet. So I'm just going to go right above my style sheet, paste that code in there. That code just, what it does is it just connects our page to Google to grab the font. So every time we load the web page, it'll go to Google Fonts and load that for us. Let's go ahead and copy this font family down here. I'll just put it right in my code that selects everything with the asterisk, because the only font style we're going to be using is that Fig Tree for this whole little project. So we can do that. And there we go. Should be set now. Let's see if that changes our text. Say H1 test one more time. Save. Bam. Yep. We got the Fig Tree font. It's a different font going on. So good. That's working. A few things I'll touch on before we go further. I'm using VS Code, so I'm going to be using the shortcuts to type out my code. I'm not going to type everything out by hand. I'm not going to do all the opening and closing tags for my HTML because that takes too long. So to do that, you'll just see me typing stuff like I'll say H1 and I'll hit tab and then it'll complete it for me. I'll also be doing stuff like if I want to make a class on something, I'll just use the class shortcut, which is just using a dot. So I'll just say like dot my class tab. Oops, my class tab. And then I got a div with the class of my class, okay? Same thing with IDs. We'll say if I want to make a div with an ID on it shortcut, I'll just do the hashtag my ID, put my ID name in there, tab, and I'll get a div with an ID. Okay, so just be looking for that. I'll be doing that. If you want to pause if I'm going too fast, feel free and just copy what I'm doing, okay? That's the power of video. You've got total control, right? All right, one final thing, guys. So we'll be referencing this image throughout to just show you what I'm building while I'm building it, like as we go. We're going to break this down step by step into small chunks and do one thing at a time. On my other screen, I do have the Figma file open. I did download the Figma file because I do have a Front-End Mentor IO Pro account, so I get all the design files. So if you don't know what Figma is, it's just basically like Photoshop, but it's free, and it's like pretty much it was specifically made for like web development, which is really cool. So you can go to like figma.com and just use it for free there. You can also download the desktop app for free. And then if you end up using it and opening the design in Figma, you want to make sure that you go to View, and then you want to go down to Developer Mode. So right here it says Open Design Mode. If I click that, it'll switch this to Design Mode. And it'll still show us the design, but it's not going to give us like all the stylings that we need for our CSS. So always make sure you go to View. The default's going to be Design Mode, but always go to View and use the Developer Mode. So Open Dev Mode is what it's called. So Open Dev Mode, click on that. And then I'll make this big, and then you'll see like when I click on stuff, like when I click on this heading, you'll see in the right-hand corner, it'll give me all the CSS styles that it is, okay? So it's 800 font weight, 24 pixels big, Fig Tree, stuff like that. If we click on this learning thing here, it'll give us the background yellow color and the hex color, and so on. Same thing for the paragraph. It'll give us the font style, font size, all of that right here, okay? So as I go throughout the video, I'm going to be using the styles that I see in here. I'm not, just for the sake of like how much screen size I have, I'm not going to have the Figma thing opened right up next to it. Just know that in my other screen, that's where I'm getting all this stuff from when I'm just hammering out these styles, okay? I'm not just pulling it out of thin air. That's actually what it is, okay? So I'm going to move my Figma to my other screen, and we'll reference that other image as we go. But yeah, just know that if you don't use Figma, that's how you use Figma, and I do recommend it because it'll help you actually get the design like pretty much perfectly exact close to the design that you're trying to build, which is the goal of front-end development, right? So again, let's go reopen my Visual Studio Code here and open up our project right here, and we'll get started. So what we'll do first is we'll get the background of the body set, and it's like a yellow color. So I'm going to go below all of the code I just wrote, and I'm going to say body in my CSS, and we'll say background color, and I'm going to give it that yellow color, and the hex code for that is hashtag F4D04E. Whoops. F4. There we go. I'm going to save. There we go. And now we got that yellow background. Okay. And then what we'll do next is we'll make a section, and we'll set up the container. We'll call this like a container for our block card, and then we'll just work our way down. We'll start with the image, and then we'll do these little subheadings. We'll do the main heading, and we'll just keep going down in order from there. Okay. So let's get like the general shape. We'll get all the HTML for our stuff first, and then we'll style it with CSS. So first things first, we need to make the preview component card itself, right? So we'll do that. We'll call this a section. So we'll say section. We'll use the section tag, and I'll give my section an ID, and we'll call this the preview card container. Okay. And then, so that container, just so you can visualize it, that's going to be the whole thing. This is like we're making this the whole box that everything's going to go in right there. Now we're going to do the image, okay? So within that, we'll say below it, we'll make a div, and we'll say preview card image, IMG. And then within that div, we'll put the actual image. So it's going to be this image here, this little SVG illustration. So we'll say image, and we'll say /assets images illustration article.svg. For my alt text, I'll just put featured image, because that's usually what it's called in like WordPress. If you're using the WordPress framework, they refer to those as featured images usually. So we'll just put it as featured image, okay? And there it is. Okay. And then below the featured image, we have that would be like the category of what category it's in. So let's make a big box. We'll make a container that'll contain like all of this text, so we can style everything easily. So we'll say dot preview card text. Okay. And then we can see that the text for this category has a background image, so we'll make a container for this so that I can color the background, and then we'll make like a little subheading in here. That's how we're going to build that. So yeah. So within that preview card text, I'll have a div, and I'll just have a class of like yellow BG for yellow background. And then I'll make an H4, and I'll put the text in there for the category, and it says learning, so we'll do learning. Okay. So we're just working our way down, guys. And then below that it says published December 21st, 2023. So we'll make that little published area, we'll just make it a paragraph. We'll say P. It'll be a paragraph with the class of published date. So we'll say published date. So a paragraph with the class of published date. And then we'll just put that text in there. I'm just going to copy it and paste it from the Figma design so I don't have to type it all out. So copy, paste. Okay, pause the screen if you're going to type that out, and then restart it when you're ready. So we got that in there. Okay, so see how our text is coming along with our image. And then below that we have, probably this is like an H2. So it's an H2 and it's going to be a link because it's supposed to link to the article. So let's go ahead and go below the paragraph. We'll put an anchor tag, and we'll just put a hashtag for the href because it's not really going to go anywhere. And then within the link, we'll have the H2, and we'll come to copy paste that text that says HTML and CSS foundations, and save. There we go. There's our link with our H2. Okay. And then we have the paragraph like preview text. So that'll be a paragraph. And we'll just call it preview text. We'll put a class on it just to differentiate it from the other paragraph. And then I'm going to copy paste that preview text. So it says these languages are the backbone of every website, defining structure, content, and presentation. So that's what we pasted in there. All right, and then that's pretty much the end of like all of the text area for this. So I'm gonna go below it, and we'll make a separate div container for the avatar for like the author area. Okay. So I'll make sure our text got in there, and it did. So far, just to show you what we have so far, pretty ugly. It's not styled at all, but all of our HTML is pretty much done almost. So let's go below this div, and we'll make another div with the class of that says, like, we'll call it blog post avatar container. So let's say dot blog post avatar container. Okay. And then we'll have the image, that little image for the guy in there. So we'll make an img tag, say dot slash, go into my assets, go into images, and get the image avatar. And we'll say blog post author avatar for our alt text. And we'll save, and then there he is. And then next to that, we'll have another H4. And we'll put the guy's name, looks like it's Greg Hooper. Okay, there it is. So guys, that's everything for the HTML. This is a really small project, so that didn't take very long. We've got all of this. It doesn't look pretty yet, but we have everything here. So now we're going to start styling everything with CSS, okay? So I'm going to be looking at, first we'll style like the image, and we'll give it this, the blog preview itself is supposed to have a white background, so we'll do that. So let's go to, we'll start with the preview card container. Let's just copy this ID name, and we'll go to our CSS, and then we'll say hashtag, and we'll copy our ID name down. So you should always copy and paste your classes and IDs, guys, just so that you don't get a typo, because one typo will break your whole page, right? So just to avoid that, I recommend copy and pasting everything as much as you can. In our preview card container, we're going to give it a width. And the width, according to Figma, this is 384 pixels wide. So I'll just give it like a concrete width with the pixels. That's fine. So we'll say 384. So you see that changed the width and made everything come in a little bit. The height is going to be, we're going to put that as 565 pixels high. So we can't really see it yet because we haven't changed the background, but we'll see it when we do this. So we'll say background color. It's just white. Bam, now you can see everything, right? So that looks good. There is a what's called a border radius. See how our edges are round? So that's called a border radius. And so we'll make that the border radius for this design according to the Figma file is going to be 20 pixels. There we go. Now that rounded our corners how they're supposed to be. And then the overall preview does have a black border, so we'll give it a black border all the way around. So we'll go border, and we'll say 1 pixel solid black because it's black. There we go. And then we have box shadowing, and I'm gonna grab the box shadow code and just copy and paste it in here because I don't ever write box shadow code by heart. That's just something I don't memorize, and you shouldn't really have to memorize that either. I'm just gonna copy paste it from Figma. So there it is, box shadow. And this is gonna give us that thick looking box shadow in here that makes our card pop out and look like 3D, which is a really cool effect. So that's what that is, if you don't know what box shadow is. So let's go ahead and save with the box shadow code in there. We'll see what that does. Bam. Look at that. It looks just like the design now. So very cool. And then we're going to give, if you look at the design, all of our content has padding. So see how it's like sucked all the way out to the edges? We don't want that. It's got padding on the side, so like here and over here. Okay. So we'll say padding all the way around for all of the content in there. We'll say padding 1.2 rems. So notice I used rems and not pixels, guys. 1 rem is 16 pixels. So if you do the math on that, we're saying like 18 pixels of padding around all the content. So again, 1.2 rem, and then we'll save. And then you can see there now there's space in between everything. We got some breathing room on the sides now for our content. It looks a lot better. And now you'll notice that our card, it's looking a lot better, but it's not centered in the page like it should be. It's over here to the left. So let's go ahead and center our card. And to do that, we'll use margin. So we'll say margin, and I want 3 rems. And 3 rems would be like 48 pixels. I want 48 pixels of margin on the top and bottom. And then for my sides, I'm going to put auto. And what that should do is it should center this whole thing, this whole card in the middle of our page. So let's go ahead and save. And bam, there we go. Now it's centered right in the middle. Okay, beautiful. So we're looking a lot better. We're not looking exactly like the design, but it's all starting to come together now. So now we just got to do the little details of like spacing. We have to get our font sizes correct, and we got to center our image and get that all correct. So we'll do that now. All right, guys, so looking at the design, we'll just keep working our way down. So now that we have the outline of everything done, we're going to work on the individual content inside here. So we'll start with the image. So let's go copy our image class. So we have it in the div with the class of preview card image. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go down, put dot, copy that in, preview card image. And our image is not centered. It's got more space on this side than this side. So I'm going to center our image with flexbox. So I'm going to say display flex, align items center, and justify content center, and save. And now our image is centered within the whole thing, our whole little card container. And that little display flex trick works to center stuff as long as you have a width and a height of the container, which we do. You have to have like a defined width and height of what the element is in, and then you can use that trick. If we didn't have that, it doesn't work, okay? So our image now that it's centered, but there's one more detail we have to do, and that's the sides have to have the little curve, the border radius. If you'll notice, it's subtle, but it's there, right? So now we got to add border radius to the image. So let's do that. So I'm going to copy this preview card image class down here, and then I'm going to put image next to it because we want to select not the container, but the actual image itself. So we'll use the image selector after it. And the border radius on our image is supposed to be 10 pixels. So let's say border radius 10 pixels, and then we'll save. And watch, these should change to curved borders now, or curved sides, and they did. So now that looks just like the design. Okay. That's going to be it for the image, guys. So now we're going to style up all of our text here, and that's in the in a class of its own. So it needs to look like this. We need to have space. Everything has to be spaced out and the correct font sizes and everything. So we're going to do that now. Go. All right. So below our image, I'm going to select our preview card text class. Copy that. Say dot preview card text. And we're going to give it some margin on the top to bring it down. So we'll say margin top 1.2 rem. There we go. Now I got some spacing on the top. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of margin left because, you know, our text, since we centered our image, our text isn't completely in line with the image, and it should be according to the design. See how everything pretty much matches up. So we're just going to use some margin left to push our text over just a little bit so it matches up better with that, okay? Just it's a small detail that like a lot of people probably wouldn't even notice, but we want to try to make this look as good as possible. So let's say margin left, and let's just bring it over 5 pixels. Hit save. There we go. See, we just brought everything over just a little bit, and now it's more in line. It looks better. Okay. So now let's do our learning little subheading, and again, this is like on a blog, this would be like the category, what category this is under. So we'll do that. I think we call it a category or whatever. Let's see. Oh, no, we didn't. We just said yellow BG. That's fine. So let's copy this yellow BG class and paste it in here and select it with the dot selector. And we're going to say background color. It's going to be that yellow color. Save. There we go. But now it's extending all the way across, which we don't want, so we'll fix that. We'll give it some padding to make it a little fatter, and it'll give some space around the learning subheading. So we'll say padding, and we'll say 4 pixels top and bottom, 12 pixels left and right. There we go. And now we'll do, it looks like there is some border radius on this category here. It's curved, so we'll add some border radius and we'll fix the width. So let's say border radius, and Figma's telling me that it's 4 pixels, so we'll do 4 pixels and save. Let's get our design up here. Cool. And then we'll give this a width of 90 pixels. Bam. Okay, so now it looks pretty close to the design. Okay, very good. Now let's move down to the published date area. So this right here. And we'll select that class of published date. And we'll say dot, paste that, published date. And the font size for that is supposed to be 14 pixels. And the font weight is supposed to be 500. And then we'll say margin top. We'll say 0.7 rem. So that comes out to like 10, 12 pixels. Okay, so give it a little spacing on top. And then we also want some spacing on the bottom, so we'll say margin bottom. Say 1 rem. Bam. Okay. That's black. Okay, so the text color for the published date is just black, so we'll leave that as is. And yeah, that's the published date. Okay. So yeah, looks like the design. So now let's do our heading and our paragraph. First thing I'll do, our heading isn't wrapped inside of a link, so that's why it's having this like link styling by default, but we're gonna fix that. So I'm gonna go up to like my global styles area, And below body, I'm going to say A. I want all anchor tags to be a default color of black. And I do not want any text decoration, which is the underline. I don't want that. So I'll say text decoration none. There we go. Now it just looks like a default heading, but it's really it's still a link. We still get that little pointer. What do we call that? Publish date? Or no, not publish date. We called this. I didn't put any class in it. So we'll just select it with H2. That's fine. It's the only H2 that we're using. So we'll say H2. Actually, let's make this more like, we'll pretend like we're actually doing this in like a bigger project. So we'd want to actually give this its own class. So we'll say like blog post title. Okay. So usually you wouldn't want to just select that with just H2 because it's not. Wouldn't be a good idea. So we'll just pretend like this is part of a bigger project. That's no shame in that. No problem with that. So we'll say blog post title. And this has a font size of 24 pixels. And font weight of 500. And then we'll give it some margin top. So we'll say margin top 0.7 rem. Go. And then we'll say, let's see, or I'm sorry, the font weight's actually supposed to be 800 for this. Looking a little thin there. Let's say 800. There we go. Now it looks like a title again. Okay, we got our margin top 0.7 rem. Let's do margin bottom. And we'll say 1 rem again. Push down our paragraph. Now that's got some good space. And then before we wrap this part up with our blog post title, notice that there's an active state to where we're supposed to be able to hover over this link and it's supposed to turn yellow. So let's just to show you what I'm talking about here, I'll show you what it looks like in Figma. It's my Figma, and this is the active state. So hover over this, and it's supposed to go yellow. All right, guys. So let's move down. Let's style the paragraph. Looks like it just has like a little grayish color, and there's some line spacing in between our text. So we'll do that. Let's go here. And this is the preview text, so we'll copy that class. And we'll say dot preview text. Okay. And then it's got a color, it's got like a light gray color, so we'll say hashtag, and the color is 7F7F7F. There we go. And then we've got font size of 16 pixels. Font weight of 500 pixels. Or sorry, just font weight 500. And we'll say it's got some line spacing. Or some line height, I should say. Let's see, it doesn't tell me, so we'll just guess. I think it's like line height 1.6 maybe. Yeah, that looks good. So now we got that space in between our text. And then we got to push this down. So let's say margin bottom, say 2 rem. There we go. Maybe I'll just do like a 1.5 because I don't want it down quite that far. That's better. All right, so now we just have to really style this part. So we just have to put this side by side, and we'll do that with Flexbox. So we have our blog post avatar container div, so I'll copy that, and we'll select that with the dot selector, and I'm gonna say display flex align items center and save, and now they're side by side and this is they're like centered. And then I just want to move this H4 over and style it up a little bit. So did I name that anything? No. So we'll just copy this same selector code and we'll just put H4 after it. Oops. Okay. And we'll say margin left 1 rem. There we go. And then this is supposed to be 14 pixels big, so we'll say font size is 14. And a font weight is supposed to be 800, so we'll do that. Okay, and that's it. Looks pretty good. Let's see how we look compared to the design. Let's go side by side. There's that one, there's ours. I think it looks pretty damn close. So good job. Now all we have to do is just make sure that it looks mobile responsive on phones. So if I do right click and go to inspect, I can open up my Google Developer Tools. And then we can see how it looks on mobile devices by clicking the mobile icon here. And then we can go to, let's say like an iPhone 12 Pro. And it doesn't look terrible, but it's too wide. So we got to fix the overall width of this. And everything else should pretty much just fall into place. So will you do that with CSS media queries? So I think we can get rid of this now. Don't really need that anymore. Let's go below all of our desktop code, and I'm going to make a CSS comment that says media queries. And we're going to use the media query code. So let's say at media screen and say max width 500 pixels. Okay. So in other words, that code means, hey, I'm going to make certain styles for screens that are 500 pixels and smaller. So follow the styling if the screen is 500 pixels and smaller. That's all that says, okay? And we're going to really have to do a couple things, guys. We'll grab our preview card container. Okay. And we're simply going to say width 90%. Save. There we go. So now on all screen sizes, it'll only be 90% of the total width, so it'll never be all the way to the corner, which is what we want. So that looks way better already. And then we'll just say, we'll change the margin. Instead of 3 rem, we'll bring it up a little bit to 2 rem. So we'll say margin 2 rem auto. Just bring it up just a little bit. There we go. And now the only thing that really looks like out of place is our image looks too wide. So let's fix that. And to do that, I'm just going to say, what is it? Preview card image, I think, right here. Copy this code down. Paste it in here. For that, we'll just say width 100% of your current container size. Since we just changed this to 90%, this width 100%, since it's inside the div, since it's inside the preview card container, it's going to change to fit 90% of that. There we go, and now it looks better. Okay. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Those simple styles should make it look good on all mobile devices now. So we can go to 100% here and just go through them. So BlackBerry Playbook, that's like a small tablet, so that's not really a mobile device. But Galaxy S8, here we go. That's mobile mode. And then landscape mode for all phones, since they have big screens. When you turn it sideways landscape, it'll look the same as desktop. So we're really only concerned with the portrait mode. So we'll just go through. And yeah, it's looking good, guys. Just going through all these devices I have here. So it's like pretty much all these devices represent every screen size you're going to encounter. So iPhone 12 Pro, 14 Pro, Pixel 7, iPad. Doesn't really affect iPads at all anyway. Galaxy S8. So yeah, this looks good on all phones, guys. Even on like the Galaxy Fold, that's a really small fold phone, and it still looks good on there. Still looks okay. How about like an iPhone 5? Still looks good on, even though it's a really old phone. That's a good sign if it still looks good on a really old phone. 678, 678 Plus. Okay, so yeah, it looks good on all mobile devices, guys. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, when we go landscape on any of these, it looks just like the desktop. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for the project, guys. This was a really simple, smart, or just a really simple, short one, but it looks really good. I had fun building it, and I hope this helped you if you're like new, or if you just wanted somebody to build something with, or to listen to ramble on about code. I hope this video helped you. Again, this is from frontendmentor.io. I'll link the finished code. I'll link to the challenge, and I'll link to some other cool stuff down in the description of the video. And I want to thank you guys all so much for watching. Thanks all of you guys. I've only had this channel for like almost 3 months now, and we're already up to almost 200 subscribers. And that's wild, man. Like, maybe that's not good. I think it's good. I'm proud of that. That's cool. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.